Hi, I'm Robin Gully.
I'm John Justin.
We are your Ward 2 council people here to give you your council recap for West St. Paul on this 22nd of January 2024.
Yep.
We started out with open council work session as usual. We started out with a conversation about our legislative priorities, and really it was just a discussion about how we want, so typically what happens in legislative session is that when we have things that are important to the city in front of the legislature, Nate Burkett or one of our city staff will reach out to council members and ask them to come and talk to the legislature in hearings or whatever. It was just sort of formalizing our process for that.
Kind of making it clear when you're speaking for the council and when you're speaking as an individual, because obviously we can all talk about what we personally believe in, but if we're representing the city of West St. Paul, it can't just be what we think, it has to be what we think as a body and in agreement with staff and stuff. So, not that we've ever had a problem with that, but it's important to kind of make sure those lines are kind of codified. Right now it's sort of amorphous and was not really written down.
So good discussion. And then we talked about the permanent rules of the council, so not to skip past the permanent rules of the council, we have to adopt those every single year. We didn't have any major changes to it. The main thing that I know that I had people reach out to me about was a very brief discussion about public comment and how we take public comment. And I know that in our open council work session agenda, it said something like discussion about whether to continue doing phone comment, and I got a few emails about that. So I just want to, if you were a person who noticed that or a person who appreciates that, I want to just say, as every other time we've had that discussion, the council came down very strongly on the side of, we think that phone-in comments for public comments are really important.
Yeah, nothing was decided today. We need to have a longer conversation. Some of the reason for talking about public comment is also that we have a situation where, we do need to make sure that public comment is something that is germane to city business. And there have been problematic situations in other cities and with other legislative bodies where people have used it as a ability to talk about national issues, potentially offensive portrayals of certain groups of people, et cetera, which we clearly don't want. And so that was part of the reason it came up, is like, as this can be something that could happen here, it has not happened here, do we need to have some controls of what is allowed, what can be, paused and say, well, this isn't city business and whatever. So we're gonna have to have a longer conversation about that. The phone-in is kind of a whole other thing. There's also been, and we didn't even really get into this, talk about returning to the conference room and how do we make sure that that's accessible to people if that's something we want to do. So I would expect that we'll either see this on one of the next open council work session things, and we just needed way more time to get through.
It was a very quick discussion.
Yeah, so I think the best thing to say on that is certainly nothing was set in stone, nothing has been changed, and we're going to need to have a much longer discussion. If there are to be any changes, it's going to take a lot more discussion than the time we had tonight.
Yeah, but there are a couple of things that I think are worth mentioning about that. Like, for example, I know, some people think that they wouldn't want us to move back to the conference room because that could make it harder for the public to engage. And I just want to say we appreciate that. And one of the things that I know that I think about when it comes to that is balancing accessibility with how important it is for us to have open dialogue, which is often really
hard to do when you're sitting at a big concrete pillar with wood in front of you and a semicircle. So it's tricky, and obviously it's something that, again, it's going to take a lot more discussion than this. There are points to be made about that. I think we've expressed worries about the fact that we aren't facilitating the discussion the way that we used to. but it's definitely not something that we're changing immediately, and may not change at all. And we definitely are going to take very seriously the ability for people to access that and have access to all of that information. And if that means that we stay in the council chambers, then we stay in the council chambers. I don't think that anybody's wanting to remove that accessibility, including staff is not trying to remove that accessibility either. We just have to figure out what that looks like. So look forward to seeing more of that. I'm sure it'll be robust discussion and maybe a couple sessions. We'll see.
Yes, absolutely. And that was more or less it for open council work session, and then we moved on to the council agenda. There were there really was just one comment, and it was again back to it was about public comment and about the accessibility of council.
Yep.
Which I would say there's strong support for on the council as well. And then we had council comments, just mentioning a couple of things that were brought up. Winter Fun Fest is coming up in February at Dodge Nature Center, which is always a favorite way to get out in the winter. We have the opportunity for folks to join committees and commissions right now here in the city. If you have thought about getting more involved with the city, or frankly, if there's a place where you feel like your insight or your perspective could bring something to the city, parks and recreation or environmental or planning, you don't have to be an expert on these things to bring your perspective to them. So we really encourage you to apply. So
and the applications are open now. I'm not sure what the termination date is, so I'll leave that off so it makes you do it sooner, because if you're like me, you need that sort of amorphous, scary deadline to actually do things sometimes.
And I will say the application is very quick. I mean, it should take 5 minutes or less to fill it out for most people, I would say. So please get your applications in, and we would love to have a chance to talk to you about it. The longtime owner of Cardinal Corner, one of the co-owners, passed away. Leanne Braun, who had owned Cardinal Corner since 1987 with her sister, passed away. So wanted to send condolences to the family, and she will be greatly missed.
Absolutely.
And then elections are coming up, as we all know, I think. But we had a particular announcement on the council today. Julie Eastman, who is one of the Ward 1 reps, is not running for re-election. So speaking of, I could have added this into talking about committees and commissions, but speaking of getting more involved in the city, if you live in Ward 1 and you have considered bringing your perspective to city council, now is the time to think about it. Plenty of time to get ready for a November election. And we need someone who's going to bring their passion and their excitement for the city to, to the seat. And I feel a deep loss just even thinking about the fact that Julie's not going to be on the council again next year, but know that it create space for someone else to come in and do really great work and bring important ideas and views to the council.
And even though we are not, Ward 1 members, if you feel comfortable, because you watch these, with reaching out to either of us with any questions about what's the job really like, I promise I won't sugarcoat it for you. I will give you the real the real truth. But yeah, we'd be happy to talk. Obviously, you could certainly reach out to Councilmember Eastman, Councilmember Arman, who would be the Ward 1 people, but whoever you want to reach out to. If you're just curious, it's not a waste of time, even if you decide not to do it. I can speak, I think, for both of us. We're happy to talk to you anytime. Call the phone numbers on the thing, wander past my store, it's all good.
And we can talk to you about council. We can also talk to you about what it's like to run and what it takes to get here. So
absolutely,
anytime. And then the last thing I wanted to mention from council comments is that there's a hockey fundraiser next week on, I think it was the 30th. For a Heritage 5th grader, Maya Serta, who is fighting cancer. So if you are available and able to go, or if you can jump on the Riveters website, there's a GoFundMe page for Maya, and just sending good thoughts to her family and to her, and yeah, get out to the fundraiser if you can. And then we just had
just another round of talking about sort of our wage scale, pay scale thing, both on the negotiated and the unrepresented portions of staff. We've made some changes. We're kind of filling in a few detail gaps on that. And really, again, all of it is budget neutral. None of this is changing what we are taking and paying. I mean, it is, but it's not something that impacts the budget that we already passed. There are ways to make that work. Some modifications to what positions were pretty much all of the modifications to positions were, and I'm not going to get into the weeds. There are kind of tiers that contracts and employees fit into. A couple of those, we're bumping them up to the next tier because realistically their responsibilities are exceeding the tier that they're at now. And I know that maybe if this is uninteresting to you, I understand, but it's basically a way to make sure that we continue to compensate the employees we have properly. We keep those employees because we don't want to lose anybody, because we have a great staff and we don't want them to be, looking elsewhere because we simply can't hit the right numbers for them. And also we want to bring in the best people we can because, again, that's good for the city. So yeah, it's a good cleanup, kind of last stage on that. We've talked about it a couple other times, and this was just the final kind of detail level thing. So, and we move forward with it. We're good on that, I think.
Yeah. And then finally, we had a short EDA meeting where we talked just a little bit. We elected EDA president and vice president. They stayed the same.
Yep.
So the mayor is president of the EDA again this year, and Commissioner Lisa Angsarn, is the vice president. And then we talked about...
Oh, one quick thing, because I brought it up in comments, and I think we have some vacancies that are appearing in town, not like we've had in the past, and I'm just going to do my soapbox and encourage both sides. If you are somebody that wants to expand your existing business, if you're somebody that wants to start a business in West St. Paul, if you're somebody that wants to move to West St. Paul to start a business, please reach out to city staff. If you are a building owner that has a vacancy, similarly, please reach out to staff. We are trying, and I've talked a lot with, because I'm on planning and things like that, so this touches more for me. I've talked a lot with staff about the idea, and they're very much into it, that the best thing we can do is try to make those connections. If we can have somebody who reaches out to us and says, I need 2,000 square feet, but I don't know where to start looking, we can say, here's a location that would work. This is the parking they have. This is all of the stuff, the information we have. So we're really trying to be super proactive on helping those mesh, and so we can keep having the vibrant business community that we have. And so please, I know that, historically, cities have not always been as helpful in something like that. If you were a smaller operator or whatever, that is not the attitude we have at staff right now at all. We are not looking, if you are a independent small business that needs a space, we want to find it for you. If you are a person that owns a building and has a vacancy, even if you only own one building, we want to help you. Like, that's the goal for the city on both sides. So please, just a plug for that. Staff is here. They're really helpful. They're really reactive. They do want to help you find ways to do that. It's good for the city. It's good for everybody. So anyway, there we go.
And then finally, we had a resolution approving another amendment to the preliminary development agreement for 150 Thompson. This is just, you've heard us talk about this again and again and again if you watch these videos or if you watch the council meetings. This is the former YMCA, former Hy-Vee, almost Hy-Vee site. And this amendment, this is just another part of another step along the way.
It's extending the timeline where we have a legal parameter for when we need to hit next steps, because that keeps developments moving. You don't want things to kind of brick wall and have nothing happen. And that was set to expire on the 31st of this month. This isn't because of any problems with the project. It isn't because of any reluctance on the part of the developer. Very much the opposite. The next stage for the developer is actually a really significant investment in doing architectural and, I'm forgetting the other term, but it's the other important one, basically infrastructure related work on the site. And so this is not a sign that this project is going off the rails. It's very much the opposite, that this project appears to be moving forward at pace, but it's a big project. It's gonna take time. And so they need that extension to July, I believe, otherwise it would expire in 11 days. So, which is not enough time. So we just extended it around. Doesn't change obligations on either side, any of that stuff, but it can't be rushed. We want to do it as well as we possibly can. So that's really, I don't want to say just a housekeeping thing, but kind of just a housekeeping thing.
Yeah. That's it.
That is it.
That's what we've got for you tonight.
All right.
Really is the shortest one that we've done.
For once.
Yeah.
I didn't say that it would be, so it is. That's how it works.
Exactly.
I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, but I'm gonna see if I can get to my little thing so I can turn off the camera from my phone. That's it.
All right.
Thanks,
See you later.
everyone.
Bye.